Hey everyone, welcome back to The Road to Superman. This is the web series where we discuss all the latest updates and rumours regarding the first DCU movie. This is episode 78, and today we have a brand new look at Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor, and we will be discussing what his motivations are in this movie, including potentially making his own Superman, as well as working directly with Amanda Waller to take down Superman. And we shall also talk about the very funny ad that released last week. But first, let's talk about that new look at Lex Luthor. Now, this is a brilliant behind-the-scenes image of Nicholas Hoult. He looks really great as Lex Luthor, and I feel he might be the standout in this movie. Whilst David Corenswet will be playing the main character, and I think he will do a great job as Superman, I think Nicholas Hoult's Lex Luthor will be the perfect opposition. He definitely looks the part, and I think this will be a far more classic version of the character, or at least more like his comic book self than Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, who I loved, but many didn't. So what are his motivations in this movie? Well, firstly, I have kind of talked about this in the past, so if you hear anything repeated, don't worry, it's not you having deja vu. I'm just repeating some things because I want to develop this theory further as I've thought about it more. But anyway, so we know Luthor is a large part of this film, with Gunn confirming that the main three characters are Superman, Lois Lane, and Lex Luthor. He is the main antagonist in this film, so a pretty major role. And from the trailers, we know that he clearly has a hatred for Superman and somehow makes it to the Fortress of Solitude with the Engineer and the Man in Black. And I think both of them were either experimented on by Luthor and then work for him, or perhaps they were captured by Luthor and are now controlled by him. I believe Luthor's end goal is to have his own version of Superman that he is able to control, and it's something he has secretly teamed up with Amanda Waller on. And I think this is why Creature Commandos was the first project in the DCU. It establishes exactly what Amanda Waller is doing, and right from the off, we see that she hasn't changed and she is still looking for more metahumans to control. And who better to try and control than Superman? But Luthor and Waller both know that Superman won't be controlled, so Luthor works on his own clone of the hero, but now what they need to do is get Superman out of the picture. So Luthor's version of Superman would be the Man in Black, and I think the reason we don't see his face is because if people were to see Superman fighting someone who looks just like him, then they would know that there is a clone of Superman, and Luthor's plan wouldn't work. So this might be one of the reasons why they are going to the Fortress of Solitude. I think they are looking for a Kryptonian Superman suit for his clone to wear, or maybe they are looking for Superman so they can capture him, but stumble upon the suit whilst looking for him, and so they take that with them. Because once again, if we look at the collars from the first promotional image and compare it to almost every shot we have of Superman in the trailer, they are clearly different collars. One is round and the other has sharper edges to it. They are at the very least two different costumes. I believe they are two different costumes for two different characters, but maybe Superman just wears two different costumes in the movie. But I feel there could be a storytelling purpose behind this, and I feel it has to do with the Man in Black being a clone of Superman, because I think that perfectly makes sense with Amanda Waller as well. She wants control, and she gets metahumans to do the dirty work. That was clear yet again in Creature Commandos. Imagine if you could have the world's most powerful metahuman under your control. Not only would you be a powerhouse against other countries, but you could also use that superhero to push out propaganda to help your cause. Kids and adults alike would look up to Superman, and I think Waller would see an opportunity with this clone. She also probably sees Superman as a threat, as they can't control him, and from her perspective, Superman could turn on the United States at any moment, and who would stop him? It's a bit similar to Bruce Wayne's views on Superman in Batman v Superman, but this time Waller would be the one expressing these feelings and would lead them to creating a Superman clone. So I think the reason why we got Creature Commandos as the first project in the DCU was so that Amanda Waller would be on our minds again, and we know what kind of character she will be in the DCU, which perfectly leads into Superman. I also think the vision she got from Cersei in Creature Commandos has made her realize how vulnerable the world is to metahumans, and Superman is arguably their biggest threat. So I think her motives are to get rid of that vulnerability and have that power on her side. So I believe she has a deal with Luthor that is mutually beneficial. He gets rid of Superman, which means he is left alone, and she gets rid of what she thinks is a threat to the world and a new version of Superman that she can control. I think that completely makes sense, but it's just my theory currently. I could be very wrong, but I feel it explains the reason reasoning for Creature Commandos being the first project in the DCU and the first image of Superman that we got, which most felt looked quite off, and it also perfectly aligns with what Lex Luthor would do, as well as Amanda Waller. So make sure to let me know your thoughts on my theory in the comments below. We all know Luthor is power hungry and hates Superman, so perhaps we will see Luthor running for president in the DCU, or maybe just the mayor of Metropolis first. And if so, I wonder if maybe there will be some political movements because of what Luthor does. Remember, the DCU is a time where metahumans have been around for a long time, but they have become more of an issue recently, and that might be something Luthor plans on fixing, but has more extreme methods around fixing it. I wonder if maybe his motives on gaining more power are directly connected to his views on metahumans. Some have theorized that maybe all the glass cages behind Luthor are of metahumans that he has captured over the years, and maybe Waller is aware of this and wants some of those metas for her own bidding. I don't know, and it is way too early to tell, but I do feel some form of agreement has been made between Luthor and Waller, and it will lead into the Waller show, Creature Commandos Season 2, and maybe into more DCU stories later down the line. But now let's head on over to the NBA ad that was released last week. Now, I was on holiday when this came out, so couldn't cover it right away, but I think this was a really funny ad. Some have complained that Gunn is right at the center of it, but I think it makes sense. He is the director, writer, and head of DC, and right now, most likely more popular to the general audience than DC is. It is true that general audiences won't know too much about directors, but I think they would be more interested in the guy who made the Guardians of the Galaxy movies than they would about DC. And with a cast that is relatively unknown, you kind of need a more well-known person to help promote it. So I get why Gunn was here. I imagine as the DCU gets more popular, Gunn will be able to take a step back in the promotion and more focus will be on the actors, but I kind of like it when directors get more attention. They are hardly known as they are always behind the camera, so hopefully DC Studios gets directors more involved with promotion to get people more aware of these directors. But now onto the suit that is on display. It's not very good, is it? I know some really like it, but for me, it's a nice idea, executed poorly. The trunks and belt are too high up in my opinion. I think most younger men have their belt closer to their hips than they do their waist, whereas the costume has the belt right around the waist, which I think doesn't complement the physique at all. If we take a look at Henry Cavill's Superman where someone has edited trunks onto it, whilst I think it doesn't really work too well, the trunks do look better because they are lower down, which firstly looks more normal and comfortable, but also shows off the abs properly and just feels like the proportions are more even. Whereas with David Corenswet's Superman, the trunks are higher up, which does the physique no favors and looks like he is wearing a diaper. And because there is no muscle definition in the suit, it just looks ordinary and not like a really cool, strong superhero. And this is what I mean by cool idea but executed poorly. I like the design of the costume and it looks really good in concept art, but the execution of the suit looks really poor. There is no clear sign of muscle, which makes him look weak, and the trunks look like they're going to give him a wedgie. I think if they were going to use the trunks, they needed to have them lower down and made the blue parts of the suit tighter or have more muscle definition in them. I'm hoping that once the DCU becomes a really established brand and we see Superman more, hopefully they evolve the suit to look like this fan art by 21x4. Normally they evolve the looks of the characters over the years, and I think this is the ideal mixture of old and new. It keeps the trunks but lowers them to complement the physique more. It makes the blue parts show off more muscle, which makes Superman actually look strong, and removes the collar so that the suit can work underneath his work clothes. For me, it's the best blend of what they are trying to go for, so hopefully we see this design soon. But make sure to let me know your thoughts on this latest ad in the comments below. But that is all for today's episode of The Road to Superman. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you never miss an episode. I hope to see you here again soon, so until then, have a great day. Bye!